Your Steve Jones Show podcast is loading now. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Purdy Insurance. Visit Purdy Insurance on Market Street in Sunbury or visit online at purdyinsurance.com.
Joining us now is Rich Scarcella from the Reading Eagle. My friend, welcome. Great to have you with us.
Make sure everybody knows this. I was not there either.
I just want to make sure everybody knows.
On January 1st, 1923. I didn't make it.
No, we were not there. All right, so we just want to at least confirm that. We're still checking with Sean. We're still checking with Sean Clifford. All right, so whether he was there with Mike Palm or not, and Hugo Bezdek. So what were your thoughts, Rich, on how it did play out? Because it just looked like for a week now that was going to be the game.
Right, Steve. The only thing that would have really prevented that from happening was if Purdue somehow managed to upset Michigan in the Big Ten title game, and Purdue played a really good game, but they just don't have enough to beat a Michigan right now. And so, yeah, I thought, word began kind of leaking and filtering in the media room at Beaver Stadium right after the Michigan State win. So I love it because for selfish reasons. To me, it is one of the great venues in all of sports, and you and I have been lucky enough to have covered three of them, and to cover a fourth just is. I just feel so lucky and so blessed to do so. So I'm very, from a selfish viewpoint, I'm very happy. For Penn State, it's a really big thing because you're playing in a high-profile game against the Pac-12 champion, and you are the only game at 5 p.m. Eastern Time on January 2nd. That's it. And so all the eyes will be on you. I think it's a huge win for the Penn State football program. It's a great way to end a rebound year after the last two seasons, and to do it against a really good team in Utah.
And Utah is really good. I will say this: USC's defense did meet my expectations. I said going.
I heard somebody say today. I would call it poor tackling, but that had nothing to do with tackling, and that is the truth. I mean, it was really not taking anything away from Utah, because like I said, Utah's a really good team. But my goodness, I think USC. We all knew that their defense was vulnerable. I really didn't know it was that bad until seeing them against UCLA and then seeing them last week against Utah.
Exactly. There are certain seasons that are championship seasons, Rich. And then for me, I look at certain seasons as important seasons. Like in 67, Joe's under 500, boom, then they go on that run. I felt like 85 was like that, 93 was like that, 2005 was like that. I thought 1980 was an important season. I looked at this season as one of those important seasons, and they ended up 10-2. What is your viewpoint on that opinion?
I can't agree with you more. There's another season I'll throw in there. It's 1993. After a really turmoil-filled year in 92, the last year as an independent, and to go out and go 10-2 in the first year in the Big Ten, I think that helped set the stage for the 94 12-0 season. And I just think that, I agree with you, because, everybody was down on Penn State outside the state, but even within the state, after going 11-11 the last 2 years. And I think this was a very, very important year for the program, for James Franklin. We know that he signed a new contract and is going to, has a new 10-year contract. I've heard people say, well, he's comfortable. I'm like, no, you could tell this was a very important year to James Franklin, and he was very intent on getting to double digits once Penn State lost to Ohio State, double-digit wins once Penn State lost to Ohio State. So, I couldn't agree with you more, Steve. And it might pave the way for these next two seasons when the expectations are going to be a lot higher.
Right, and because this is an interesting team. Yes, it is a team that has Sean Clifford, P.J. Mustipher, and some older players. But there are so many freshmen that contributed. How do you look at the balance on this team between the classes that they have right now?
Well, let's start with the senior class, and James has said this multiple times. Great senior leadership, and the three guys I'll mention are the ones that I think have had the greatest impact. And no particular order. Sean Clifford, P.J. Mustipher, and Jair Brown. I think all three of them, in their own way, have been very, very strong leaders. Serving as a really good liaison between the coaches and the players, and I think that's been critical. Then I would go to this freshman class, which we all know a year ago they were rated very high. And, but there have been classes before, not just at Penn State, but elsewhere, that are rated high by the recruiting rankings. But once the season started, you can see the talent in this class, whether it's Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, whether it's Abdul Carter, whether it's Denai Dennis Sutton. I mean, like go down the list. This has the makings of a very special class, and Penn State couldn't have got to 10 wins without either the seniors or the freshmen.
Right, exactly, and and then the guys in between. Obviously, that I felt like this freshman class. When I look at the top programs, I think there's a couple things that distinguish them. You got to be obviously good in the trenches. We got that, but I also felt like depth has played a big factor. And that I felt this freshman class changed Penn State's depth quotient, where if something were to happen, like an Olu Fashanu, you had a Drew Shelton that could step in as an example. I just felt they changed the depth on this team and got them on par with other programs.
Right. I mean, that was always the reason given for Ohio State having an edge over Penn State, is that Ohio State's depth was so much better. Well, it's clear with this class that Penn State is closed that gap, and needs the big thing is you can't afford a down recruiting year, and with the portal, and there's obviously it's a very active day in the transfer portal today. You can add to your depth and you can be stronger. You added a Hunter Norzad, who obviously has played a very pivotal role in the offensive line success. You added a Chop Robinson, who's a premier pass rusher, and it just filters down, and you have a lot of depth. And I agree with you. I think that's one of the secrets behind this Penn State defense, is it's so deep, and why I'll throw my opinion in here, why it didn't get the credit it deserves in the All Big Ten voting. Why Joey Porter Jr. was the only All Big Ten first team defensive player when Jair Brown and Kalen King had every right to be on that team. And I think it's because the numbers are down, because they're not playing 60, 70 plays a game. There's just so much depth, and I think that's been a big plus. You could see it in November how Penn State was just so much fresher than the teams that they played.
Yeah, no question. Did the College Football Playoff Committee get it right?
I think so, except I would have put Ohio State third and TCU fourth, and not necessarily to match them up with Michigan. I think Ohio State, if you're looking at those four teams, and to me they are the clear top four teams, I think Ohio State is better than TCU. And I think they wanted to avoid a semifinal meeting, and that's why they kept TCU at 3.
Yeah, I agree with you, because, I am not big on point spreads or odds or anything like that. That's just not me. But let's be honest about it. If Ohio State is playing TCU on a neutral field, who's the favorite?
Right. No, Ohio State is a better team. That doesn't mean they would beat TCU. Things can happen,
That's right.
Once the game starts. But to me, TCU at 4 would have been the right thing to do. If you're asking me how to rank the 4 teams in the playoff, it would be Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and TCU. But I don't. That's not a big quarrel with it. I'm glad that they didn't move a 2-loss Alabama team into the top 4, or a 2-loss Tennessee team for that matter, especially after what happened to Penn State in 2016 with the 2 losses that they were stuck at 5th. So, no, I think they got it right. How about you? Do you think they got it right?
Yeah, no, I do. I think they got it right. Do I think Ohio State technically should be 3 and TCU 4? Technically, yes, but realistically, no, because TCU was undefeated through 12, and Ohio State was not, and TCU risked a 13th game. And to me, that should come into play.
Well, here's the question that we'll never know the answer. We can guess. Who do you think Georgia would rather play, Ohio State or TCU?
TCU, no question. And,
no question about it.
And if I'm Georgia, this is one area that does worry me. It's 3.5 weeks, a little bit more than that, till you play the game. Suddenly, out of nowhere, Travion Henderson and Mayan Williams are both going to get healthy just because of time. And I think that changes Ohio State's offense, because now you'll have the home run hitter at tailback you desperately need.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think Ohio State was really stung by that second straight loss to Michigan, and I think they're going to be hungrier and they're going to play like they have something to prove. And especially you gain those 2 guys, add them back to the offense. They're a very, very dangerous 4 seed.
Yeah, I agree. Very dangerous 4 seed. When it comes now to Penn State, the matchup with Utah as time goes, when are you planning on getting out there? Have you gotten that far yet in your thought process about getting out there and how you're going to do it?
That's always a good question, Steve. I rolled the dice, and late in the 4th quarter, Saturday night, or what? It might have been Sunday morning for all I know. The game was so long. I booked a change it, and I'm headed out on Wednesday the 28th. My son lives in Los Angeles, so I'm going to go back on the same flights as he's going back on the 28th, and then the first media availabilities the morning of the 29th. And Rose Bowl does such a great job. Everything's early in the day, especially for those of us who have publications on the East Coast. I'll be out there on the 28th, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, the earliest I can get out is the 30th. I got a game the afternoon of the 29th, and then I've got to go on the 3rd. I got to go from L.A. to Detroit. I got a game at Michigan on the 4th. So it's actually, it's a fun time of the year for me. I'm enjoying every second
I know.
of this.
I remember talking to you after the Rutgers game, and I completely forgot that you had a basketball game to get back to down in Carolina. So, I don't envy your schedule, that's for sure.
No, I made it with ease. It's fun. Are you kidding me? I mean, I'm not digging ditches, Rich.
That's what I tell people too. The same thing about me. I'm very, very lucky to have the job I've had for so long.
I mean, I'm going to sit at the Rose Bowl, and I get to announce it. People consider that a privilege. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I mean,
I can't wait. For the people out there, and you know this, Steve, the last time Penn State was in the Rose Bowl against USC, which was just maybe one of the best games you're ever going to see, the weather was not exactly nice. It was very overcast. I think it was misty early in the day, and we didn't get to see that beautiful sunset over the San Gabriel Mountains. So I'm hoping for good weather this time.
Yeah, same here, because it was really cloudy that day, and there was low clouds, and so you couldn't really you couldn't see the top of the San Gabriel. So looking forward to it. I know we'll talk between now and the game itself. So even though I'll always wish you happy holidays, but I know we'll be talking before then anyway. Thank you so much. Appreciate every moment I talk to you.
Same here, Steve. Thanks for having me on. Take care.